You know, I see why it's a lot of people out here that's like, I don't want to deal with that. You know, I don't want to put myself through that. I see why so many people are like that. And I don't blame you because the type of the type of rhetoric you subject yourself to when you decide to be a content creator and you know you doing things to help people, you still have ignorance running rampant still, even with these people who are here to do nothing but help and bring awareness. You have ignorance running rampant. So somebody puts out a small video saying, don't disrespect the victims, don't talk about the victims, don't ridicule the victims on my page, on my channel. Okay. And then you say, let me read this. You said, I've never felt such a need to talk about dumb feces and ridicule victims in any way. Now, I can tell it's not a person with intelligence that wrote this. I can just tell. But it makes me sick to my stomach that you would make a comment like this after somebody specifically states not to come to their fucking channel with that shit. You're a person that's desperate for attention. That's what I believe. You're a person that's desperate for attention. So let me give you your 2 minutes of fame. Okay. It's 9:06. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes of fame, okay? Because you're in desperate need of it. You have to be in desperate need to make a comment like this right after somebody tells you not to talk about victims on their channel, on their page. They said don't ridicule victims at all. And right after that, you write a comment like that. But you got to remember, some people don't get attention. They only know negativity, but negativity sells. Is that not true? Now you got 1 minute, sir. The other problem that I have with you is that you are clearly somebody who is emotionally removed from what you say. If you made a comment like this after someone just said not to talk about victims, so since you want to be ignorant and you need to get recognized or you need someone to show you attention, I decided to give you 2 minutes. Okay. Now, for me to take you seriously, I need to see you because you're writing words on a screen. That doesn't do anything for me. A lot of people can do that. A fucking robot can do that. Come on now. You're writing words on the screen. Be bold enough to show your face and say what you said pertaining to the victims in public. Tyler Reed 5258. Say what you said pertaining to the victims in public so people can see you. Okay, I'm done. Your 2 minutes are up. So yesterday I started this and I was reading it and I had to stop because of what I read. It was a lot. It was a lot for me to take in. So I'm back to finish it now. We were talking about another victim. Her name was Allison Carter. It is Allison Carter. I'm making sure. Yeah, it's Allison Carter. Now, what's interesting is this document, the affidavit of truth, has her name spelled Alllyson. But I've seen her name spelled with an I too, so I'm not sure which one is correct. But either way, her name is Allison Carter. And these are the names of the celebrities that she gave in this document. Excuse me. About what she experienced. I can't imagine. It's just, let me finish. Let me go ahead and play this so y'all can.
Have had nothing to do with Diddy ever since. Then Diddy is listed in this, and then Young Jock. She talks right here about one of the kings of comedy who wore a gold chain was complaining that he just did an hour set and there was
Okay, so this is where I paused it yesterday because I'm sitting here reading this like, this person was a part of the kings of comedy. And to me, I'm taking this as this is a person who actually went on stage, because it says he was complaining that he did an hour set, but there was, quote, no one to F backstage. I wonder who made a comment like that from the Kings of Comedy, because this is clearly somebody who went out on stage. And from what I know, during the Kings of Comedy tour, it was 4 of them. So I wonder which one this was. This comedian further lets me know that it was one of the Kings of Comedy that went out on the stage to tell his jokes. So this was a comedian on the Kings of Comedy that said this. It says this comedian broke the, quote, no anal X rule and had anal X with me anyway and just laughed. So whose rule was it? Was it his rule, or was it a rule for the entertainment that was there? Oh my gosh. It says I screamed for my handler. Pimp. So this young lady was a prostitute? Escort, you know? What I'm assuming that's what she was. If she's saying she had a handler. She said everyone was laughing and I ended up getting in trouble. So this young lady is being violated and they're laughing, which is telling me that this was not consensual and this was unwanted by this victim. Everyone was laughing. So people were watching her get violated and they were laughing. And we're talking about someone on the Kings of Comedy tour. I was then told to have sex on the table with the girl who was my age. How old was she? Then they brought in donkeys and burros, and we had to have sex with them. This is somebody on the Kings of Comedy tour. It was only 4 comedians that went up on fucking stage and on the Kings of Comedy tour. So it's one of the 4 Kings of Comedy. They brought in animals for these girls to have sex with. They had to have sex with animals. And everybody watched. Oh my God. I don't give a fuck who you are. If I ever found out something like this, you'd be in trouble. You would be in trouble. Do you know what sex with an animal and a human is called? Bestiality. And the Kings of Comedy, somebody from the Kings of Comedy was there engaging. This shit really does make my stomach hurt. It says another girl and I ended up throwing up afterward. And they rubbed our faces in each other's vomit as a punishment. And you telling me that it's okay for this person to be given the option to settle out of court so no one will know their name. It's interesting that as I listen to all these stories about what happened to these victims, I noticed that the women, I'm not saying that the men were not done harshly, but the women and the girls meant nothing. They meant nothing. I cannot imagine being told to have sex with animals while people watched and laughed. And then, because I threw up after having had to do something like that, they take my face and rub it in vomit. And I'm going to tell you something. All of the kings of comedy have children. All of them.
Nobody to mess around with a girl on the table.
I don't even know what I'm reading.
Nobody to mess around with. The girl and I ended up for people.
Oh my gosh. It says favors mean that the kids are literally set on a table. She was a kid? Favors mean that kids are literally set on a table and had to wait for people to come choose them for sex. Y'all are in there having sex with young girls, and all y'all are married. These are children. Y'all are adults. Y'all don't have consent to have sex with them. What the fuck? I cannot believe this shit. I mean, my stomach is doing fucking twists and turns every fucking day. More shit comes out. It just leads me to believe that the author who put out Kim Porter's book was right. That he has to do this in increments. He can't put all this shit out at once because he said it'll shut the world down. And every time something new comes out, people's fucking jaws are dropping at the shit that these people were doing. These people that we were giving our money to. These people that we were supporting on these TV shows and these damn movies. This is their life outside of our view. They're having sex with children and making them sleep with animals. Did you make your fucking children do that? Did your children have to do that too? It says once they were done having sex, the kids were placed back on the party favor table. So they had to go have sex with these fucking grown ass people. And then put back on the party favor table for somebody else to have. These are children. And someone else could give them, oh, it's hard, y'all. This is so hard. Oh my God. Eh, I did say it before, but I'm saying it now. If you cannot handle the types of things that are being said, that you're reading, that I'm reading, don't listen. Because I forgot to give the disclaimer before I started. I'm gonna make sure to put it in my description though, so people can understand what they're getting into when they watch the video. It says once they were done having sex, the kids were placed back on the party favor table, and someone else could then come and pick them out from the table and repeat the process. I had to have sex with so many people. And I in this write up would be Miss Allison Carter. She said she had to have sex with so many people that night she could not remember them all. And some of the other altars hold those memories. Party goers went into a sexual frenzy mindset once the DJ started the music and turned on the flashlights. There were fetishes happening everywhere, and they kind of separated them. A fetish, in case you didn't know, is a type of desire. It's a desire for obtaining or to obtain some type of gratification. Party goers went into a sexual frenzy mindset. There were fetishes happening everywhere, and they kind of separated them into areas where specific fetishes were happening. Fetishes for having SDX in blood was in one area, while having SEX with animals was in another area. People were just in a crazed and sexual frenzy. When the music started, I was sitting on the party favor table. The main room was big, like a ballroom. There were outlying doors around the edges of the room. Some of the doors were shut, but you could still see the food sex table, the party favor table, and many other things. There were different types of sexual parties happening in different areas of the house. Oh my gosh.
To come and choose them for intimacy. Once they were done with
So here you're about to hear her speak. Miss Allison Carter, you're about to hear her speak.
many different sexual things going on at this party.
I was letting my social workers know, and they told me to stay quiet. They told me that if I told anybody else, that I would be shipped off to Arizona and no one would ever find me again. And everybody is...
Did y'all catch what she said? She told her social worker. She told her social worker. Now, what kind of child has a social worker? A displaced child, for whatever reason. I don't know if she was in a foster home, or I don't know if she was a delinquent child and she was, being looked over. But this sounds like she may have been under CPS. She got a social worker. That's interesting.
So worried about the elite, and we could give those names of Barack Obama, Joe Biden. We know about Michelle Obama, that's a man. We know about Too Short. We know about Akon and Steven Tyler, and we can give those names all day, and everybody is so worried about that. But what you should be worried about is the people that are in between, the people that go as low as your grave diggers. I was trafficked to people within my schools. I was trafficked in underground tunnels that link under your schools, through your cemeteries, under your amusement parks, through Universal Studios, and into Hollywood elite homes, all over the place, all over the world. And people don't understand that, and they can't fathom that, and they can't put that together. But if you think about the things that have come out lately, and there's 200 children missing, and there's 300 children missing. What Amber Alert did you receive? How many times do you receive an Amber Alert every year? And if you think about that, how many children are coming up in your face that have been tortured and abused like this? It exists and it's real.
Oh my God. This young lady is saying a lot. And she's so right. She's so right. So many children have been put through this. It's a lot of us who are adults now that have been put through this. And the government is involved.
And people don't want to face it. It happens in your schools every day, as your grave diggers, your trash men. Everybody is involved, but everybody is looking at the top, and that's just a small percentage. And you really need to look at the people in between.
So the names that you just mentioned, Barack Obama, Steven Tyler, Joe Biden, Michelle Obama, have you had personal actual experiences with these people?
Yes.
These people.
Did you just hear that? Did you hear the names? Did you hear the names? Please tell me y'all listening. Open up your damn ears. She's not, this ain't just no, she is out here. It's not just a story. You're gonna call her a liar? Why? Why would you undermine her story? Because of the names that she's calling out? Did I not say in another video that the Obamas had Harvey Weinstein at the White House numerous times? Now you got a victim that's coming forward and saying that she was a victim of theirs. You gonna call her a liar? What grounds do you have to call her a liar? Because of the fucking name she's mentioning? At this point, this shouldn't be the first time that any of you have heard the Obama's name. I feel so sick to my stomach. Because as an abused victim, I know what it's like for people to undermine your truth or dismiss your truth. And that shit don't feel good at all. It makes you feel less than a person, like you're not human. Have somebody come say to you, are you absolutely sure? Because this is a high profile person. The fuck do you mean? Are you absolutely sure? What I can tell you is I can remember every negative thing that has happened to me since I was a child. But if you ask me about joyous times, favorable times, they're faint. I can't remember them. But I can tell you the names of all of the people that victimized me as a child. Right now, today, I can still tell you that. And I didn't tell my mother until I believe I told my mother when I was 30, maybe. I believe I was 30 by the time I told my mom all of the people. I was either 29 or 30 when I told her that. But to say, oh, well, we don't know, she's accusing them, but where's the proof? She is the proof. You can't dismiss her. You can't just dismiss her. Because she's not an elite, or the people she is accusing are supposedly all elites, but they don't mean nothing to me. No, they don't mean nothing to me. They're people like me. I don't see them any other way. I don't put them on a fucking totem pole because I don't know you. And just because you have status does not mean that what we don't know behind closed doors can't be true about you. Everybody has a dark and a light. Everybody. 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 Has positive and negative energy. So when these people are out here in the public, in your face, and saying whatever they want to say to win you over, you think that they're going to jeopardize that after having won you over? Like, I just, yeah, Miss Blue, it's kind of hard because I know what it's like to be telling your truth to people and they don't believe you because of who's involved. And I really want all the victims to come forward. Like, keep talking because this is on a grand scale. It's I'm telling you, it's let me finish.
People participated in abuse firsthand with you.
Yes.
Can you tell that story? Because that's important for people to understand.
No, because everybody is complicit. Everybody is complicit. It is covered up by your local FBI. It is covered up by your local police department. It is underground tunnels. There's a whole world. It's a different way of life. There's every source of transportation. When I met Joe Biden, I was rushed through many celebrities. Half of them I did not know. It didn't faze me to see them. It didn't. Some of them were actually very conceited and cocky that I didn't know who they were. Underground, under the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, there are many tunnels. Again, there's a way of transportation. There's every single way of transportation under the ground. I was sold to Joe Biden multiple times. Sometimes people don't talk about it because when you don't talk about it, it makes it okay. When you don't talk about it, it makes you bury it. When you don't talk about it, it's easier and it kills that part of you. I went into foster care at 13, 14. We tried to do a case.
Now, let me say something, because I said earlier that I think this young lady must have been in the care of CPS. She just said that she went into foster care at the age of 13. Now, let me let you in on something. I was in foster care with my mother. She had me as a teen mom. We were in foster care together. And do you know that CPS put us in homes with these so-called Christians? And I was being abused while my mother was away. I just wanted to say that.
Against Riverside County Child Protective Services, because Riverside County, do you hear me? Riverside County Child Protective Services was involved in my trafficking. I never thought that we would see the day where Diddy would get arrested. And I told you guys in that Maria Z interview in 2021 that no one tells on Diddy. Pdidhe. All right? Just the same way nobody tells on Denzel Washington. We're still not on the subject of the kids. All the adults are covering their asses. All the adults are, I left at a certain time, yet you knew children were there. You knew these parties were not okay. They weren't freak-offs. They were satanic ritual orgies. It wasn't just adults in these parties. The adults were responsible for the child that were in the party. And one of those children were me. Now, those who are trying to come at us now, talking like, oh, well, now the Diddy's out, now that you can talk. For why? Because we tried to have a case with Child Protective Services. We gave them 8 months worth of evidence. 8 months worth of evidence. That didn't even do a crumb. They took that case and they hid it. If you are a survivor and if you are a real victim, be careful.
because these hotline numbers that they're putting out, I don't trust them. I wouldn't do it.
They take your information to see what you have.
They're taking
and
inventory.
then they shut it down.
Mhm.
They're taking inventory. So don't trust them.
I just want to say I completely believe everything she's saying. I believe everything that she's saying. It's not okay for the government to be the fucking perpetrator and then try to step in and be the fucking savior. Who would believe them? Especially if you were a victim. Who would believe that the government was stepping in to do something? Because it's a different face. That different face works for the government.
Any attorney that's taking money to defend Diddy, you're nasty and vile.
That's blood money.
That's blood money.
That's all blood money. You do know that, right? Whether you take money for him to shut up, whether you take money from him for period, that's blood money. I don't want anybody's money. There's no witness protection program because how well is the Secret Service?
And why would you be getting money in? Why would, in my opinion, I mean, the victims can deal with this how they need to deal with it. But if you take the money, they're still winning, in my opinion. They're still winning. If you take the money that they offer you to settle so that they're not exposed, they're still winning. They can still do this to other victims. And you won't be able to say anything because the first thing they're going to try to do is shut you up with an NDA. And then you can't talk about it. But then what about the next victim or the next victim who didn't know that this person was a predator because their name was never put out there?
Doing protecting your former president. They not even doing their damn job. Even the photographer can get the shot, and including the people that can get the shot. Let's be real. But it's only talked about when it's trending. We got legal evidence to drop. I just don't know what's the point. I was at a Diddy party. I was one of the party favors. But I told you, nobody tells on Diddy. Maria Z, I did that interview in 2021. 7 months ago, we made sure, I already knew that Diddy and Oprah is about to get arrested.
Oh my
I already
God.
knew that.
I appreciate that, Miss Blue. The work that I do is very hard. It's very hard for me. Because I know that a lot of times the victims, they don't want to come forward to strangers because of these very reasons. So I can appreciate a victim that's angry and is deciding to express that anger because nobody believed them. And then when you start getting these high profile, high status people in the limelight for the shit, everybody want to tune the ear. Miss Jackie. Nice to meet you, Miss Jackie. Thank you for talking to me. I appreciate it. But I stopped it because I wanted you to hear that what she said was, about P. Diddy and Oprah. Oprah is a name that I brought up before, where I said you're going to hear her name again. And I wouldn't be surprised if she tried to be one of these people that tried to silence a victim by paying them off. That's my opinion. But I'm not surprised that she called Oprah's name out. Let's not forget that Oprah has a school in South Africa. What's going on with those girls?
Seven, 8 months ago. We went and made sure there were sworn documents. We have them. I'm not the only one. There are too many victims. Victims that you don't even know their name. Victims that you'll never hear their laugh. Victims that you'll never know who the hell they were because everybody was so busy talking bouncing to their music.
Let's be clear. You federal prosecutors, you have video surveillance from Diddy's house from 2008. Look in that 2008, 2010 span. You'll find her video there. You want to send it over? She'll say, yeah, that's me. Didn't you?
And if that's true, what happened to the case? What happened to it? I wouldn't even be surprised if the evidence is no longer there. I just found out yesterday that the detective that was supposed to investigate Kim Porter's homicide never opened the investigation. Because as he was pulling up, the doctor spoke to him before he even got in the house to talk to anybody, spoke to him. And then when he went to do the news interview, he said that he couldn't give us any information about Puffy, but he was able to tell us about the children. So it's seeming like this investigator didn't do his job. He went off of what the doctor told him as he was approaching and the doctor was leaving, and decided that he wasn't going to investigate Kim Porter's death as a homicide. How can you do that without doing your job? You still have to go on scene and collect evidence. This I know. I have a background in criminal justice. You still have to go on. Doesn't matter. As soon as she was reported to 911 as a potential cardiac arrest or whatever the case, and then she was pronounced dead, at that point, the detectives would not know what happened. So they still have to do their job. A detective's job is to follow the evidence, regardless of what somebody tells them, to include a doctor that was called by Diddy.
You can do what you can do, but otherwise we're not messing with you.
Yes, my pinky's broken. For those who keep circulating this picture of this girl with a broken pinky, yeah, my pinky's broken. It was broken at 12 years old when I tried to fight back and that didn't work. So there's a lot of parts of my body that pops and locks and shit because a lot of people started tying me up, and I'm really small. If you've ever met me, I'm really, really small. So people used to use me a lot for baby jobs. So people used to use me a lot for party favors. That party favor that...
Let me tell you something. Yeah, Miss Jackie, like a lot of the pedophiles run in the family. A lot of predators run in the family. A lot of them. When I was Thank you. Thank you for believing her and not dismissing her and what she's saying. The families will cover things up. Like they will know something's wrong. Even if you're not the one who told them. They know something's wrong, but they choose to not deal with it. I don't know what was going on during that time, but it's like you would go and you would tell an adult. And it didn't matter if it was your mom, your aunt, anybody in your family. It's like they didn't want to believe it, so they chose not to, not realizing the impact or the effect that it's having on the child or the victim. So absolutely, it's happening in families. And definitely it is happening in foster care. Because I am a foster care child and I can attest to what she's saying. It is true. It's happening up and down the ladder, if you will, with the elites and down to government, down to counties, down to cities. It's happening. And people need to open their eyes and stop being so quick to call somebody a liar.
I was on the table. I wore wigs too. So if you want to turn those videos around, I have a wig on. But yeah, my pinky's broken, and so is my toe pinky. There's a reason for that.
If you're a truther, you need to look up party favor effect as it relates to Diddy's freak offs.
This is not just one problem. This is decades worth of an issue. You know that, right? Hopefully it's not going to be a slap on the wrist and then he kills himself and then he sit in the jail cell and everybody goes back to putting their head in the sand. Hopefully people understand that this is not about an election because the election is canceled because everybody is on the list. Let me tell you something. They make sure in those parties that they have blackmail evidence. So if they go down, they taking everybody down with them. I pray to God that this is the day. I pray to God that this is the time, because all the victims deserve some type of justice, and it's just a matter of taking accountability and somebody saying, we are fucking sorry that we didn't hear you guys forever ago. There are people.
Are you hearing what she's saying? We're looking for you to be accountable for what you've done. And still today, you have these people who refuse to be accountable for the shit that they do. That is exactly what you're doing when you decide to pay a victim off to keep your name from coming into the spotlight, to save your career and to save your reputation. You are willing to silence them with money and avoid accountability. And it's such a slap in the face. And it's so hurtful and it's so painful. I really know, I don't hope, I know now is the time for them to be held accountable. I know. Just wait and see how this goes down. Just wait.
Who are dead. There are babies who have lost their lives because nobody was listening. And now everybody, I want to listen. You are late. You're fucking late.
This woman has been trying to say this for years, and nobody's been listening. Are we listening now? I don't think we really know exactly how deep this all goes, but I believe in her, and I believe that we have to start paying attention. This isn't just celebrity headlines. This is
I'm
real.
so glad she's covering this, because it's a lot of people out here talking about the sex part and how, you know, people can have whatever kind of fetishes and whatever they do in private. I'm not saying that that's not true, but we're talking about children and child victims, where a lot of them are now adults and they are still dealing with this trauma. And what do you think, as the public, what do you think would be happening with them, or how do you think it would be affecting them to know that they're attempting to bring forward their truth and call out these people, only to have all this negative rhetoric thrown back in their face? Who did you tell? Why did it take you so long? Do you have any proof? You're just trying to get money. You're clout chasing. Why should we believe you? Why shouldn't you believe me? Because I don't have the status? Because I don't have the money? Because the people that I'm talking about do? Don't you understand that is the reason why they can get away with the shit? And they know this. They know. And when you give them that out from being held accountable by putting a dollar sign to it, you think they're not going to be willing to do that? They did all of this in private. They did all of this in private. If you were not in that environment, you were not privy to those types of activities. And nobody outside the environment was allowed to know. So she's been telling you this for years. Jaguar Wright has been telling you stuff for years. And now you want to listen. But I tell you what, now is the time for all of them to be held accountable. Now it's time for the dominoes to fall. Because I don't want people to be distracted by this election, the candidates. I don't want that, because you just heard 2 presidents' names called. And I've already done video where I showed that Puffy and Donald Trump have known each other for years. So that's the third president. Now, if you think about how people say that birds of a feather flock together, how many people are in the circle with these elites and these presidents? How many people are in the circle? It's a lot of them. Do you think it's not politicians all the way down the ladder involved? I'm not saying it is. I said, do you think? Because it's a possibility. She and I have the same story, similar stories. And we don't know each other. And I can relate to everything that she's saying. She said she has a broken finger from trying to get away from one of her abusers. Yes, he did. Yes, he did, Miss Jackie. Yes, he did. Not only Combs, but Oprah too. And J-Lo. And they're not the only ones. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna share with you something that happened with me with one of my abusers. Okay. And I was around 10, maybe 9, 10 at this time. But my mom liked to gamble. So like every weekend, every other weekend, we're over at somebody's house, somebody different house. And this one particular house, I hated going to this house because one of my abusers lived there. And I was one of those children. Oh, it's definitely connected. Oh, you don't think that there's definitely strategy to why they chose to arrest him now? There's a strategy there. I'm sorry. But yeah, I used to hate going to their house, and I was one of those children who I wouldn't talk. I was very quiet. I didn't say a lot. So I was in the back room sleep, and he came into that room, and he had nails. He had nails that were almost the size, like the size of this thing here, if you can see. That's how long his nails were. And he would take his 2 fingers and insert them, scratching me. It was very painful, very fucking painful. And he threatened me that if I ever told anybody, he would hurt me. And if a child feels threatened, a child feels like you really gonna hurt them, especially if you cause them pain, right before telling them that, they're not gonna say anything. And I was already quiet. And fearful. It just hits different when you can relate. It really does hit different. So you think I'm not going to be out here advocating for these victims? Hell yeah. Until this is over, they have my complete support. And when I say I recognize, I see you. Because I've been there. And I'm going to speak. You're not going to shut me up. You're going to have to come on here and shut me up, because you're not going to shut me up. I'm going to continue to talk for them and be a voice for them, because you didn't do it. Exactly, Miss Jackie. And that's exactly how a victim feels when they go to tell someone, because this is what we were taught. When I was in school, we had something called the DARE program. And you know, a lot of us in the South grew up with that program. I don't know about anybody else, but I know a lot of us in the South grew up with that program. And they taught us that if someone does something to you, you tell someone. And then you tell them. And they do nothing. Miss Jackie, I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina. I ain't that far from you. I wasn't that far from you. These victims are in numbers. Like numbers. There's a lot of them. And there's boys and girls. Okay, the abuse is happening on the boy side and the girl side. But it's happening when they're children, because that's when you're most vulnerable. Do you think you could control a child more or an adult more with what you do to them? What you say to them? And to a child who feels like they don't have anybody, especially a child in foster care, especially because we got treated differently than the other kids. Oh my gosh, Miss Jackie. I'm sorry to hear that you were abused. You know what's crazy is I'm a Navy vet. How crazy is that? I'm a Navy vet. It's crazy because foster children feel like nobody cares. They've already been displaced from their own family. And then they get thrown into a family that supposedly cares. And they still get met with hurt and pain. Let me move on. Yes. And thanks to your dad as well. I have stories about that too. But I am thankful for my experience either way. But a lot of the practices that are done out here where they know how to gain control of a victim before they prey on them, it happens in the military too. I'm pretty sure it happens everywhere. But in these organized structures, like military branches and all of that, it should be more control. We were in Monk's Corner. You know what that is? We were in Monk's Corner. I'm not sure. Is that North Charleston? Hold on. I was born at the I think the University of Charleston. UMC, hold on. UM. Hold on, Miss Jackie. Yes, MUSC University Hospital. That's where I was born. Oh, yes, ma'am. I mean, I could tell you some stories. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is. I don't know if it still is, but back when I was there, yes. Let me see here. It's something else I wanted to show you. I don't know if you've seen this interview yet or not, but I was listening to this and I was like, "Oh my God. Okay, let me show y'all. Let me show you." Oh, okay, San Diego. Um, I've been to California. I haven't been to San Diego though. I went to Hollywood, Los Angeles. I think that's about it. Hollywood, Los Angeles. That's it. That's the only place I've been over there. I knew though when I went to go visit that was someplace I didn't want to be. I didn't like the vibe over there at all. I couldn't get with it. I couldn't. Oh, it's 4 y'all. It was 3 of us. And me and my sister were both born in Charleston. And my brother, he was born in Bamberg, which is a smaller town. That's where we ended up finishing school in Bamberg. It's about 15 minutes outside of Orangeburg, South Carolina. I'm gonna show y'all. I want you to listen to this attorney speak.
We know, Ariel, that you've got this client. You plan to file the suit this week. There hasn't been a lot of detail about it, but I think you can reveal a little more tonight about exactly what your client says Diddy did to her. Tell us a little more if you can, even though the suit's not officially been filed.
Yes, I'll have the suit filed sometime this week, probably in the next couple of days. It's just in editing right now, just to get the final touches on it, just to make sure we haven't missed any causes of action. I think as it stands right now, we're at 19 causes of actions, from sexual assault, sexual battery, of course, RICO charges, and sex trafficking. But essentially, my client was raped by Mr. Combs, his bodyguard, and a friend who invited my client to his home to set up this whole situation. The details are graphic in nature, and the complaint lays out all of the details in the graphic, just deplorable way my client was victimized in that day, or in that night rather, and her harrowing escape, and how she was able to finally get away and manage to get to safety after the gruesome attack.
Yeah, and I know that the details are graphic, and I want to be careful. But can you talk a little bit about the baby oil? Because I think people just think it's baby oil, but you are claiming that there may be something else in that, correct?
Yes, so in the suit, there is a part where Mr. Combs is threatening her with a knife and makes her take off her clothes. And then he takes what she believes is some type of liquid substance out of a bag, out of a fanny pack to be specific. And he squirts it at her. And she originally thought it was like acid or something. But then she realized that it was some type of lubricant or oil. She actually didn't specify even baby oil. She just said he just started squirting it at her, squirting it all over her body. And then that's when, after she was covered in this oil, that's when the attack began with Mr. Combs and then the friend. And then in between the two of them, she was squirted some more with this oil. And then the bodyguard then attacked her and raped her as well.
So she's alleging that the body oil that P. Diddy used when she first walked in the room, she said he squirted it at her, like towards her face or whatever. She didn't know what it was. And then they used some more. So this baby oil is more than just regular baby oil. There's a reason why he was using so much of that stuff. It's laced. It was laced. The baby oil was laced.
But she said over the course of this, her body got more and more limp, and she couldn't figure out essentially what was causing it, because it wasn't as if she was forced any drugs. She said she had a cup of water that she took a sip of, and she knew immediately it wasn't just water, but she only took a sip. And she felt that whatever the liquid was being squirted on her had something in it, which essentially debilitated her and her faculties.
Mm. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, because
Exactly. The first thing that a predator will do is incapacitate you to where you can't fight them, or you can't fight back, or you use the ability to function from whatever they've used on you or giving you. And a lot of these women wouldn't know that their drinks were laced, because if everybody's drinking and then you drink something and now you're woozy and whatever the case, it's not going to seem like there was some kind of foul play because everybody is drinking. But from what some of the people have already said that were in these environments, P. Diddy would take certain drinks that they were specifically given to the girls or the females and lace those drinks, and everybody else knew not to drink from those bottles or from those cups. They knew, but the victims didn't know.
in the complaint, the Fed's complaint, they talk about all of those bottles of body oil. So we knew there was a lot of lubricant, but do you have any idea what may have been in it? Is there something that could have been in it that would have made it so she couldn't move?
So I've done some internal research after I had my intake with my client, and it seems that oil in general is used as a conduit for specific drugs, like, for instance, GHB. So in order to get that to topically take into somebody's body, you need a conduit, which is typically oil. So it seems to me that there were some types of drugs mixed into the oil, which is why he was dousing her in that oil prior, not only to make it easier to assault her, but that was what was lowering her defenses. Oil in general is used as a conduit for specific drugs, like, for instance, GHB. So in order to get that to topically take into somebody's body, you need a conduit, which is typically oil. So it seems to me that there were some types of drugs mixed into the oil, which is why he was dousing her in that oil prior, not only to make it easier to assault her, but that was what was lowering her defenses.
It happens a lot. You know, even when you go to, if you've ever heard of somebody getting date great, this is the type of stuff that happens where, oh yeah, I believe it, Miss Jackie. But when somebody has, if you've ever heard a story of somebody saying that they were date great, then you would know that when they were describing the events, a lot of times it was something was slipped into their drinks. Like while they weren't looking, where they allowed the guy to buy the drink for them, but they may not have been paying attention to when the drink was received from the bartender to their hand. It was real easy for a drug to be slipped into their drink. And the reason why I'm saying this is because when I was in the military, this happened a lot with people. where, you know, I would always have a buddy with me where we're always watching each other because, you know, it was a lot of members who were becoming victim to date rape because of guys taking a chance, and they're getting taught this. It's not okay. They if they have to incapacitate you or, you know, make it to where you can't fight back, then you can't give consent to whatever they do to you. But you also, it's harder to prove you didn't consent. You see what they were doing? If all of you are drinking and, you know, it's their word against yours, and they say, well, she had too much to drink. Everybody was drinking. I don't know what she's talking about. The female, she might not know that she was given a drug, and then she wakes up and she could either be naked or she could be halfway naked, you know, or her clothes could have been put completely back on, but she's hurting. And all she can say is what happened. And then all he has to say was, oh, you had a little bit too much to drink. We had a wild night. You don't remember anything? And the whole time they've taken advantage of you. You cannot give consent if you are incapacitated at the time that this happens. You can't. And I think that is important for females to know when they're going out to drink. You can give consent, but then it makes it harder to prove that the person did something against your will because of the alcohol.
Gosh, it's so disturbing. 120 people now we hear are going to be filing lawsuits. We've heard that from another attorney. Do you know yet, are there similarities with some of these other stories, especially in terms of this oil component?
Well, unfortunately, we haven't seen any or heard anything about any of the alleged 120 victims that another attorney has. In fact, I think recently today he came out and started saying some of these celebrities the other celebrities he planned to name were settling the cases, which I thought was odd because I do settlements all the time. And part of the settlement is that you don't discuss the settlement. You know, part of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. So unfortunately, I don't know how many of these cases, the 120 cases that lawyer has, will ever see the light of day. I always was skeptical about the number and the types of claims that were being advanced. But I haven't seen any other cases advanced that made similar allegations other than the federal government's case.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
I just feel like all the victims need to be heard. You know, it can be deciphered as to, you know, if something seems sketchy, may need a little bit more and whatever the case, but I don't want that to discourage people from talking. And I also feel like a lot of these people out here in the public that have something to say about these victims, I feel like maybe you should just keep your mouth closed if you don't know which way to believe. Because a lot of the stuff that you say can seem disheartening. It can seem like you're undermining, you know, their memory, like they don't know what they're talking about. And all you're doing is causing more damage. You're not helping. So if you can't help because you don't know, then just don't say anything. Reserve your comments. Because then you can't get upset with people for attacking you for you opening your mouth or saying something. And that is it, Miss Jackie. I feel like a lot of victims are like, well, we tried so many times. We've been trying all these years. And nobody will listen. Nobody will believe us. And sadly, some people don't make it. I'm not going to tell you I haven't thought about that, because I have. You don't know what it does to your mental if you haven't lived it. And to have a chance like this in your adulthood to open up and allow your voice to be heard again, where it may really, really, really make the difference, I say do it. Why not? Because you have a lot of us out here, we don't claim victim. We're survivors. We know what it's like, though. I don't allow anybody to use the things that I've been victimized by to hurt me. If I felt like it could still hurt me in that way, I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't be willing to talk about it with others. But I fear no one but the one. All right, Miss Jackie, I'm about to get off here. And you know what, Miss Jackie? All I can hope is that if they do go to police, the police actually do something. Because what good are you as a police officer if you can't be of assistance to those that need help? Because your pockets are too low. And if somebody comes around with the right price, that assistance can be tailored. So like I said in my other video, who do you trust and who do you entrust? We're supposed to be able to trust the police to do their job. Thank you, Miss Jackie. You done made my day. I appreciate you talking to me. I'm about to get off of here now. I'll probably be back later or tomorrow. You have a good day. Everybody have a good day. I gotta go try to eat.